Happy summer, Food Effect viewers. We are back for another week. Why are you looking at me with that face?
I hate summer.
I know, but it's almost over, I feel. Honestly, I was counting weeks and like we're right there.
Right. It's the first week of July, so
I don't know. It goes so fast. I feel like my life has been going in the blink of an eye recently. This year, honestly.
oh my God. Happy 4th of July.
Yay, it's today.
Like, I feel like that's like the kickoff of summer, isn't it?
I don't know. It's always hot, so I don't really think about that. But you can.
It got really fucking hot.
Yo, today was like 91, man. With the humidity at like 5,000%, forget about it. Can't go outside. I don't want to go outside.
I wouldn't go outside either. I mean, today was a little bit better. I think it was like 84, but
Still fucking sucks.
yeah, well, you know.
We're always like old people, like we're like the old men in the Muppets, like in the balcony talking shit about the weather. Like that's you and I.
Yeah, because it's never perfect.
But today's episode is not about the weather, contrary to what we usually talk about.
Nope.
Today we're talking about something a little bit different. And we're still going to be offering recipes, but it's more ingredient centered. Flavor enhancers. Bum, bum, bum.
Umami.
Oh, your mommy.
What the fuck?
But yeah, totally umami. All right. So I think I'll kickstart it because I have Maggi seasoning, which honestly, I had always seen kind of perusing Asian markets.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a, first of all, it's a liquid, right?
Right.
And I didn't know what the fuck to do with it. So I always like saw it and kind of just left it. But the last time I went to, what did I go to the Asian market for? Oh, I went to go get noodles and I saw it and I said, today is the day that I'm going to try Maggi seasoning. And it's Maggi.
Right.
And I put it in my cupboard and I didn't look at it for like a week, Keter. But then one day I forgot what I was making. Oh, I was making steaks. And I just I was scared to use it, right? Because it's salty. It's supposed to be like a soy-based flavor enhancer that has MSG in it. And people are kind of afraid of MSG, but there's really nothing to be afraid of.
No, you shouldn't be afraid of MSG.
Yeah, most foods naturally have MSG in it. And I'm reading about it. And it's really just a fermentation of starch, sugar beets, cane sugar, or molasses. And it's found in tomatoes and mushrooms and cheese and meat. So you're eating MSG anyway. So don't be afraid of this, right? There's something about it that it makes things just taste infinitely better without adding like a saltiness to it.
Right.
So this is the thing. I put it in my steak and I added I was scared. I added I don't know, 5 little, it kind of drops out when you shake it, like 1 drop at a time.
Right.
And I used like maybe 5 for the steaks. And I can't tell you what a difference it made. It makes the taste of beef like beefier.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's kind of like a chicken bouillon effect. But
right.
for me, like I've never used it in chicken, only in beef or beef-like things, like a pork butt. I'll use it on the pork butt and it was, oh my God, that shit was so good. But you can put it in these types of things and you can make it all taste better. I started using it in my stroganoff that I make, the one pot stroganoff from Damn Delicious. And my kids don't like to eat stroganoff too much. They ate it all up. They did not complain because I added the Maggi to it. Oh, I've been adding it to my picadillo. So I'll add it right when I put the tomato paste, I'll put in like 5 shakes of the Maggi seasoning to get it right into the meat itself instead of like into the liquid. You know what I mean?
And just so people know, picadillo is a Cuban dish. It's ground beef with a bunch of flavorings in it, tomato paste, things like that.
Yeah, it's like saucy. You serve it over rice and it kind of becomes like a new thing. So I've been putting it in that, like literally anything that has beef in it, I will add the Maggi seasoning just a little. I don't like to add too much because I don't want it to be overly salted or to taste too much like soy sauce, because I have kind of done it before where I use a little too much and it does taste soy saucy, and sometimes you don't want that flavor, you know?
Right.
But if you just use it like 5 drops of it in most bigger cuts of meat or whatever, it will work. And it's just like the flavor. It is 100% umami. It is a little bit, it's like a little something in the back that's je ne sais quoi, as I like to say.
Shut the fuck up. I'm so fucking tired of that term.
I know. And it's cheap too. I think it's like $4, $5, and it's a pretty big bottle and it'll last you a very long time. And you can put it in anything. You know what? I'm going to experiment with vegetables and report back, because I feel like if I put it in a broccoli, like stir fry situation, it would be fucking amazing.
Well, I'm excited for you and your Maggi adventure.
And when are you going to go on the Maggi adventure?
when I'm done with my adventure.
Tell me about your adventure.
Okay. So this item I actually did not like for years. And it's because I didn't know how to properly use it. Okay. And, you and I are very similar in the sense that if it's something we don't like, you and I tend to revisit it because we want to sometimes we just want to like something.
Right. Totally. 100%.
We can't. So I was at the grocery store the other day and I have always hated Marmite or Vegemite, one or the other. Okay. So Vegemite comes based in Australia. Marmite is in the UK. And basically what it is it's essentially brewer's yeast. So when brewers are brewing whatever they're brewing, this is the beer. Yeah, there you go. It's the yeast extraction. And then some spices and stuff like that are added to it. Okay. And it's very meaty. Like it tastes very, very meaty, but it's very salty. And, here in America, we hear, oh, Marmite is, or Vegemite is like the equivalent to what American peanut butter is. And that's not the fucking case.
No.
That's a wrong assessment. Peanut butter, you slather onto things. It's sweet, delicious. And that's where people go wrong with this. You cannot slather it on. So something very simple to use, if you had Vegemite or Marmite, is get a piece of toast and you put butter on the toast and you put a very tiny thin layer of this stuff on the toast. And it gives a salty, meaty flavor to it. So I bought it just for shits and giggles. And the other night I was making a simple red sauce, a simple spaghetti sauce. And I was making meatballs. That's what I was doing. I was making a simple red sauce with it. And you know how I am on this kick that no, you don't have to buy San Marzano tomatoes. You don't have to buy it. And I still believe that. You don't have to buy them.
Ditto.
But here's the thing. I made the mistake and I decided to be a little cheap. And no dig at Walmart here, but I bought Walmart brand crushed tomatoes and they fucking sucked.
Really?
They were horrible.
Why?
I don't know. They just had this kind of metallic-y taste to them. It was really astringent. So I'm making this sauce and I'm just like, there's something missing. There's like some body missing to the sauce. And I tried everything. I tried from every single spice I could do. And then I even tried a little bit of sugar to, take out the astringentness of it. I tried a little bit of baking soda and the flavor was okay, but there was just something missing. And so it was a big pot of sauce. So I said, okay, I'm either going to toss this shit or I'm going to try to fix this. And it just wasn't tasting meaty enough for me. And I took 2 heaping tablespoons of this Vegemite and I just put it in the sauce and I let the sauce melt the Vegemite into it. And I got this idea from many years ago watching the Food Network. One of the chefs, it was a competition, used Marmite in her hamburger patties before she grilled them. I remember the judges were like, oh my gosh, she used so much of it. It's going to be horrible. And it ended up tasting really good.
Interesting.
She won that part of the competition because of that. So I thought about that and I said, fuck it. I'm going to do it. Holy Hannah, Mariella. This shit was so fucking delicious. It turned those shitty Walmart crushed tomatoes into something fantastic. Then, of course, because I obsessed over this. So then the next day, what was I doing? I was making meatballs again because I'm obsessing now because now I'm like, wait a minute. I've discovered something in my own head here. And I actually didn't buy San Marzano, but I did buy another brand of tomato sauce and crushed tomatoes. And what I did is this time I did not use salt in the ground pork and ground beef when I'm making the meatballs. I did not use salt. I used my regular spices, but then I did a heaping tablespoon of Vegemite. Holy fuck.
Really? In the balls.
It's incredible. In the balls. Yeah. So instead of in the sauces in the balls this time. Either way, now I know why Australians and people from the UK love this shit. Because it just added a real depth to it.
Right.
And I have an Australian friend and I text him what I was doing. And he was like, what the fuck? Are you serious? And I'm like, yes. And now ironically, he's Australian, but his background is Italian. And he was just like, I've never heard of this.
How funny.
And he's like a Vegemite lover. And he's like, I've never heard of this. So it has added such an interesting taste to my sauces at this point.
Interesting.
So I'm going to start experimenting with beer breads and things like that because it just, I think, has that kind of flavor profile.
Mm-hmm.
And y'all, you need to go by fucking Marmite or Vegemite.
Would it be good in like a sauce, like a dipping sauce?
Yeah, you just gotta be very careful because if you're gonna eat it directly like that, it has to be a very small amount. And so when people try it for the first time, I really suggest just taking your finger and just tapping on it and putting it on your tongue and tasting it. And you'll see what I mean, how very salty it is. Yeah, kind of like how you're kind of thrown back by your Maggi, which I've seen the Maggi stuff in grocery stores all the time.
Right?
I've never bought it. I've never thought to buy it.
It's so good. And honestly, it would be good in, like, I'm going to make these noodles with beef that I saw. Like, they're called dragon noodles. I saw the recipe on TikTok and I can't freaking wait to use it in that because they're like noodles with ground beef and broccoli. So it's like a cheaper meal.
Yeah.
But that Maggi seasoning is going to fucking be awesome. Funny note about brewer's yeast. When when you're breastfeeding, you become completely obsessed with like your milk production, right?
Okay.
And so brewer's yeast is something you can purchase and you can dissolve it in water and drink it. It tastes like fucking hell. It's so disgusting. It tastes like a beer that's like old and putrid. But if you drink that, it helps up your milk production.
Oh, really?
So I used to consume brewer's yeast like daily when I first started breastfeeding and I was completely obsessed by the idea. So I'm familiar with the flavor of brewer's yeast, in fact.
That sounds horrible.
You know,
that sounds absolutely horrible.
It does work
now.
though.
When it comes to like Vegemite or Marmite, you've got people that are like obsessed with it, and then you have people that hate it. There's no in between. And I hated it for years and just like with you learned how to use a Maggi. I had to learn how to use this ingredient. And once I learned how to use it, started making it my own, I'm obsessed. I'm going to buy the Maggi. I just got to wait till my Vegemite is done. Because the thing is, I think with these ingredients, which makes it kind of interesting, you don't use a lot.
There's room for both.
Marilyn, I'm on this Vegemite wave. So we gotta.
I would try it. I would try Vegemite. Why not? I'm kind of, I think after being so enthralled by bouillon recently, I'm kind of more into the idea of like, what can I add to food that is easy, shelf staple, and readily available that can make things like 10 steps ahead of the game of what I used to make, you know?
Right.
And now that I'm like obsessed with the bouillon, I'm like, fuck yes. I've been putting bouillon in my red sauce, so I can understand why.
I would put in red sauce too. I don't use salt in the red sauce. I put the bouillon in it because it gives that hearty, meaty flavor, and that's what the Vegemite's giving. And I cannot stress enough. If you're going to use Vegemite or Marmite, do not use salt.
Okay.
It's going to be very, very salty.
So there's salt in Vegemite.
It's extremely salty.
Okay. I've never had it.
And I don't know if the salt is added or if that's the flavor that comes from brewer's yeast. I did have to look it up what the sodium content was because I have to be careful with my sodium content because I'm old. So I did, you're older. So I did have to add it up. I did have to look at it, and it does have a decent salt content, but it's not something astronomical because you're using such a small amount of it. Like when I mean 2 tablespoons to a massive pot of red sauce, you know, you're not really gonna.
I don't think brewer's yeast is salty. I don't remember it being salty.
It's very
I used
salty.
to literally drink it up like a crazy person.
Well, you were also diluting it with water, maybe.
I don't know. It smells like a beer for sure.
It smells like a beer. You know what it kind of smells like? And it kind of made sense. You know, when you're baking bread and like before you bake it, your yeast has activated. And when you smell dough from a bread, it smells like beer.
Right. Yeah. Because it's fermented.
Right. So that's kind of what it reminds me of.
These 2 additives are fermented.
Yeah.
That's where the umami comes from.
Umami, Mariella. Ooh.
What did I say?
Umami.
Fuck you. I said umami. You're such a dick.
You know what? When you fucking listen to it back, you're going to be like, oh, my dumbass said umami.
When you're bilingual, we'll talk. Okay, bitch?
I'm like, look, I used to be like half, okay? But then I left Miami and that was it.
You're just lingual.
Okay? Well, I just don't know how to say fucking umami, all right?
Okay. So I say we try these things. They're inexpensive, low bar of entry. Give it a shot. See what you think. And what else can you put Vegemite in?
I'm telling you, I'm gonna figure out a way to make a bread with it.
I'm gonna stay tuned. I want to know about it.
I'm gonna figure out how to make a bread with this.
Yeah, experiment, you guys. I know we like to have our standards and our cheap shit that we like to make, and it's not shit. It's fucking amazing because we cook really, really well, and we cook good, delicious food that is not horribly expensive. But sometimes you just want to zhuzh
Try
it up
it.
a little.
Right.
Yeah.
Try something different. And that just kind of led me to it. It was an ingredient that I never really enjoyed. And then I said, you know what? And if I had not seen it just at the regular grocery store, I would not have picked it up.
Where'd you see it?
And just that, I think it was just at Harris Teeter.
Oh, so you were at the regular grocery store.
I was at the regular grocery store. Yeah, I wasn't, because before, at least around here, for me to buy something like Vegemite or Marmite, I'd have to go like World Market.
Yeah.
And now, no, it's just in the ethnic aisle.
Interesting. I wonder if Maggi is. I'm not sure. I haven't.
I've seen Maggie in my grocery store. And that's the only place I've seen it. And like I said, I just ignore it. So I will pick up Maggie next time.
Yeah, and get the liquid because I think they have cubes and shit, but I think the liquid is better.
I'll get the liquid.
5 drops. Start there and see what happens next.
Just like with the Marmite. It's a tiny bit on toast with butter. Just so you can get the flavor profile of this.
Huh. Okay.
Yeah.
All right, you guys, give this stuff a try. You know what? I think I'll put the links on Amazon.
Yeah,
in our
be
show
nice.
notes. You guys can see
nice.
them. And don't forget to leave us a review on your favorite podcast player and share us with your friends because we are so excited to share everything we know with you guys. And we can't wait to come back next week.
Marietta, you forgot the best part.
What?
Marietta, they can also subscribe to our YouTube channel.
Yes.
If they want to also, if you want to listen to us on YouTube, subscribe to our YouTube channel.
Yes. The link is also in the show notes and you can listen from anywhere, which I hear it's not that easy with podcast players, but YouTube is kind of universal on the moon. Do that and subscribe and like our stuff and listen. Our entire catalog is on there. You won't miss a thing.
Not at all.
All right, you guys. We'll see you soon. Take care.
Bye-bye.